Hey everybody, welcome back to another Lead Ministry Live. My name is Josh, and if you've been in children's ministry for quite a while, you know my friend Kai. He is the man. I'm so excited to be here. I'm kind of having like a fanboy moment. You know what I mean? They call it fangirl. Can I be a fangirl? Is that right? What it would be? Kai, welcome, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Well, I am so glad to be here. This is so fun.
Yes.
I'm a fan of you. It's mutual fandom.
It's
Mutual
fandom.
Admiration Club.
Mutual
Yeah.
Admiration Club. But here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that people, right before we kick off into anything, that people know a little bit about who you are. So this was who you were back in the day. This was, holy smokes, man, the little K. This was a
Yeah.
big deal. Do you remember these years, my friend?
I do. They were some of the greatest ever, and in the whole Kidmo world, and in this preschool. There's in the preschool world, we got to do a kind of an interactive video show, not unlike. I might have stolen things from a show called Blue's Clues. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just a medium.
Yes.
Borrowing from the medium.
You know, really what it was, Kai, it's the Christian Blues Clues. That's what this was. And now how many, this is a cover of the DVD. In my church, we owned every single one of these things. We were huge fans. So how many did y'all put out?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think 20 series or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
we
that.
had, we had, I was going to say 20. We had all 20 of them. We were raving fans. And so here's quick testimony. Today, I was sitting at the kitchen table and I was kind of prepping with my notes that you and I had been discussing. And my son goes,
Yeah.
he's 16 years old. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I got this thing today." I said, "Buddy, do you remember Little K?" And he goes, and I said, "You know, the little guy?" And he goes, "Oh, you mean the sock fort?" And this is a picture of the sock fort. And I was like, yes, the sock fort. So my 16-year-old son looks back quite fondly with you. And he's like, "And the little sock guy, the sock fort." Was the sock fort? Is that right?
Yeah, it was a blanket fort and then
Blanket
Professor
fort.
Sock.
Professor Sock in the
Blanket fort, yes.
This is I said it wrong. This is the blanket fort. How
Yeah.
cool. So this is a part of his found. Dude, so tell us what you used to do, because a lot of people may or may not know this.
You mean as far as like my background? Things
Yeah,
like
your
that?
background and even the little K story. Can you do that?
Yeah. John, who did Kidmo, of course, he started Kidmo.
Yes.
We were friends in Los Angeles. And I would come and I would go and speak at his church on Easter, or he'd come and, we were just, mutual friends.
Yes.
And he started this whole Kidmo thing, this whole interactive, hey,
Whoa! You said you wanted confetti.
I feel like I'm one of the gang now.
Yes, you're part of the inside
Thank
crew.
you. Thank you for that. Oh my gosh. Now I'm even more pumped up. Okay. Yeah, so we were doing this elementary program.
Yes.
And they had talked about wanting to do a preschool program.
Yes.
And I had really only done, at that point, like elementary and played characters and was one of the main writers with John
Sure.
in Kidmo. And I said, well, why don't you let's do a preschool program. And I'm going, oh. And something strange happened. When I started thinking about it, I had already started kind of teaching preschool. I had always avoided preschool.
Yeah.
At the church that I was at, I was doing elementary because it was scary and there was just so much angst. And
it could go wrong.
It's an angst that spreads.
Yes.
One kid gets crying and then it spreads into
Yes.
the others, and then there's separation anxiety and it smelled funny. And so I just avoided the preschool area. But then I kind of started teaching them, going, you know what? They're kind of humans.
Yes.
And they pick up.
They pick up a lot.
They do. And what's scary is that they are concrete thinkers, and we're trying to communicate abstract thoughts like there's a God.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's terrifying. So, but it became more and more exciting to me. And as I experimented a little bit and went, wait a minute, this is fun. Okay, so what could we do to make it fun? What kind of elements? So I brought I put my CE hat on.
Children's ministry, children education, because
yeah,
you have a degree.
yeah.
You have a degree.
My Christian, yeah. yes, I had a little biblical studies degree from a college in Washington, and then I went to Biola, and I got a Christian ed bachelor's too, which was so fun.
So
But I started out as a voice major.
but watch this, you put those things into play. Because a little bit later, we're going to talk about nature versus nurture, right? And so you were a
Yes.
super creative guy, but then you went to school to learn a bunch of things, and then you put on a particular hat to merge those two together, which came up with a nationally celebrated way to reach preschool kids. It's
It was a
genius.
fun hat. Thanks. It was a great hat.
I mean, there was nothing like what you did. Now listen, we had Kid Mode, but Kid Mode was nothing compared to the effectiveness of Little K. I mean, it was huge. And the kids, like, I like in these different segments, you would say, I mean, and I learned a lot as a performer, right? Because I travel the country and do the Amazing Chemistry Show. And
Yeah,
I
right.
learned a lot from just watching you, because you would say, hey, well, what do you think? And kids would literally say stuff. Yes, you would come. Like I'm having all, if anybody out there has done the Kidmo curriculum, say something, right? But like I watched you were actually getting them to be participants with you. I mean,
Yeah.
it was genius right there in the classroom. And you would say, what do you say we do this? And then what would anybody like to do this? And little hands, they followed you. I mean,
No,
it was so good.
it was remarkable how they would respond sometimes.
For
And they'd
sure.
remember. They'd remember.
They would. And the
Now,
other funny
Josh,
thing,
one thing I
Yeah,
did, one
please.
thing I did do at the very end, I always said, "So, what did we learn today?" Because your parents are always saying to you,
That's right.
"So, what'd you learn today?" So, I just did that so they'd be able to actually. Anyway, it was totally fun.
I bet you that was a very exciting time in your life and in your ministry. I mean, super cool. That was the top.
Yeah.
And another fun thing, I know we're kind of going off on the Little K thing, but it was special in my life, and it is my show, so we can do that, right? So
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right. So I'll never forget you, like Little K, the little fella would be kind of hiding and bouncing around, and you would go, "What? Where is he?" Oh man, it was so good. It was the height of creativity. So we in children's ministry, we actually tip the hat. So good. So good. Well, listen,
Thank you, Josh.
we're not just talking about Little K, although this is a big piece to who you are and a big piece to the story. We're talking today about people. Hey, you out there in podcast land or in Facebook land, we want you to be you. And one of the coolest yous was Kai. And so we're going to talk about, he's going to kind of unpack for us how somebody can fully live into the fullness of their very own self. And so I'm super, super, super excited. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am. And so beyond Blues Clues, we're going to talk about three simple things. Number one, you be you. Number two, we're going to talk about that creativity starts and is housed within you. And then the third thing we're going to talk about is, how do you do this? Like, how do you land the plane? Well, be more. And to do that, be more creative. And that last one is a hard one for people, right? They're going to be like, well, I'm not really that creative. I don't want to steal all of your thunder. But I'm super, super, super excited. So let's talk about this you be you, right? And I think I think that there is, especially with social media and a lot of the different things that are out there, we can all want to be somebody other than ourselves. There's this imposter syndrome where it's like, hey, it would really be better if I was somebody else. And I don't think that that's a good thing, Kai.
No, see, and it's true. Everything begins and it ends with you. And see, and it's how we kind of feel about each other. And you might think that you're gifted, you might think that you're not. But see,
Right.
but most importantly, it's what you do with you. So no matter how you feel about you, right?
Right.
It begins and ends. It really does with you.
And the funny thing is that you and I talked earlier, and we're just a couple of scaredy cats. Like people may not understand that to put our foot out there, it takes energy and it takes effort. And so it may look, see, I always thought that it was like super easy for you to be you, and it takes energy and effort. And it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, well, you just have this manic personality. No, I've had to learn how to be me and learn how to overcome some of my junk, right?
Exactly.
One of the
Yeah.
things that you spoke so eloquently about to me, I refer to it as the upside down kingdom. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the most exciting, encouraging things like ever.
Yeah.
Uh, God's economy. It's like it's basically, the least will be the greatest.
Yes.
The first is the last. When you're weak, you are strong. I mean, there's all this paradoxical,
In
upside
order to
down,
live, you gotta die.
That's right. Yes, all of these things. It just doesn't make sense, which
Yes.
then puts us in a pretty good place to be. And it's and all through, I mean, like all through Scripture, you have these stories of
Yes.
these people who seemingly, were not equipped. You've got Gideon, who, hello, great mighty warrior, and like
Yes.
he's hiding in a
But
hole, basically.
by the way, a quick timeout. Like you're a professional voice actor. That's what you do for a living. Like you do voices.
Why, yes, I do. Thanks for asking. Por español, al prima nueve. So yes, I am.
So
Yeah.
as we're talking about, like I'm putting you on the spot, but as we're talking about these characters in the Bible who were ordinary people who kind of did some bad things, can you do a couple of voices? Do the Gideon thing again. That was funny. Oh,
Yeah.
mighty warrior. Yeah.
Mighty warrior, you are strong. That thing. And Gideon's going, I don't know. You're not talking about me, are you? It's that whole. But that strength that God, that angel saw who he was,
Yes.
not who he thought he was.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And so the
Did
same
that
thing
answer your?
Yes, that does answer my question.
Good.
It's so funny, man. But and then there's Moses, right? And he's the anti-public speaker.
Yeah, I don't speak good, so I don't want to do this gig. Yeah, get my brother to do it, okay? Because he's a much better speaker than he can talk real good. I can't talk, so can you just send him? Thanks. I'm going back to the farm or out to where the desert. You know what I'm saying?
Where the sheepies are.
Where the sheepies are. They're my friends. They're my friends. And you got David out in the out. He's with sheep. He's hanging out with sheep. So all these people, and that's what God uses. God uses the unlikely. He uses murderers and tax collectors and fishermen to accomplish his purpose.
And he uses us. And so I'm getting kind of the emotional, this is really speaking to my heart because it's good. He uses people that ought not. I'm one of the ought nots. I'm one of the on all of the little bullet points that say, yeah, this person probably shouldn't be used of God. I'm on that list.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. The unlikely.
The unlikelies.
He uses the unlikely, the non-gifted.
Yes. But the funny thing is that we're freaked out that we're not that person. We're not the gifted one. We're not the exceptional one. And so then sometimes people think, well, I guess I'm just going to be on the sidelines. And God is saying, and we are saying, you don't have to be on the sidelines. There is actually your weirdness and your unlikeliness is the very thing that puts you on the team. That's what we need is the unlikely. I'm super excited.
That's right.
So what I want to say, go ahead.
And actually talent or ability can be a hindrance.
Speak to this. I think this is important, that talent can actually be an anti-friend in this.
That's right. Self-sufficiency is kind of no friend of grace. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not confident. And that's another thing that we'll talk about later. You can be confident and own you. But if you're so gifted and so strong and you're David's brothers, you know, and you're handsome
Right.
and strong and all that. God ain't interested in that.
Or the
It can get in the
tallest.
way. It
Or,
squeezes out
yes.
grace,
So you
which
said
then,
a very special quotable. You said a second ago, giftedness is no friend of grace. Is that what you said?
yeah,
That's
or
genius.
self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency
Is no friend of grace. Wow.
is then, yeah, I just think that's true.
And
But it's
so,
good to be confident.
okay, there's a difference then between confidence and self-sufficiency.
Well, that's right. And Josh, it also says that do not think of yourself more highly than you ought, but with humility of mind, consider others as more important. So do not think of yourself more highly than you ought. So think of yourself highly.
Yes. Okay. Because the converse isn't think of yourself lowly.
No.
It's don't think
And
of
that's
yourself.
kind of a thing with us Christians, you know. We'll
Yes.
kind of, I'm humble and oh, just you go ahead and this is all about you. This is not about me. And yes, that is true. But we can actually own who God made us to be
And
with our weaknesses and our strengths. Go.
and celebrate it and stand fully in that person.
And celebrate it. And that's right. Stand in that person. You be you.
You be you, right?
Yeah. I
Don't
love that, by the way. You be you.
Yes. And
I
I
love
like
it.
I've got the goosebumps going. I feel very inspired. And part of the reason I feel inspired is because you literally are a hero to me. You were doing children's ministry at such a level, and like I just think so highly of you. And so other people might think, well, you know, I'm not a Kai. I'm not the guy who's got the uber creativity. But guess what? Creativity, it starts with you. It's inside of everybody. And
You know what?
talk to us about that.
Well, see, and yeah, just like you said, what we'll do, what the tendency is we'll look at people like I would see someone on stage and I'd say, man, boy, that person is so talented. He's so creative. And oh my gosh, I wish I could be like, you know, more like that. But the interesting thing is that creativity and talent are not the same. They're
Unpack this for us, could you?
they are different. They're different. See, a talent is like a gift. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit.
Yes.
But a talent, you know, is a gift and something that you have.
Yes.
Now, creativity is basically how you wield what you have.
I love it.
So it's an interesting thing because actually, hard work, okay, can actually trump talent when talent doesn't work hard.
That's exactly right.
Does that make sense?
It makes a ton of sense. And so,
Okay.
yes.
And that's where creativity comes in. So it's like it's not about how, you know, it's not that. Oh, but we have a tendency to compare.
Okay.
And that's just going to get you into trouble.
So but talent is the starting point. It may be a starting point, but creativity is where it can take you.
It's where it can take you. See, and that's the exciting thing too. We're going to talk about being more creative and allowing yourself to
Yes.
be more creative.
I think it's genius. So creativity and talent are not the same. And you spoke to me and you said, you know, I'm a big fan, you said, of nature and nurture. You should put on your professor voice and say, you know, I am a big fan. Do that for us, would you?
You know, I am a big fan of nature and nurture, and this is why it is. And I could do this and to be more of like a scientist and speak like that.
Oh,
But-
my word.
But I've always been fascinated with nature nurture because my nurture was like, I'm afraid of everything.
Yes.
I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of, you know, I'm afraid. I was so afraid growing up. The afternoon would come and I would start to become afraid because it was going to be night.
So
I was
so
so
we had talked earlier that anxiety is really just the inability to predict the future.
yeah, it's uncertainty.
It's uncertainty.
Unfortunately, Josh, the entire world is characterized by uncertainty.
That's right. So
It's
highly
the
so highly anxious people like us, and I'm willing to throw out there, I'm an
No.
anxious person. And
Yep, that's
highly
me.
anxious people like us, we have a hard time not being able to predict the future, and every single day is relatively unpredictable.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? You got to do something about that because the world ain't going to change.
No.
So
But
it's
what
got to
it
be
comes
how I approach it.
but what it comes down to is that you are given a set of abilities. And now
Right.
it's time. Now it's time to do something with that.
Well, that's right. And how do you determine? So you determine kind of who you are. And this is not like a pop psychology thing, but simply you can just say, okay, well, what do you love? What do you like? What do you think about?
Yes.
These are just simple things. What do you want?
Right.
It's okay to want. What do you want? And you can pray. You talk to God. You talk to your pastor or your friends. Or hey, what do you think? I kind of like this. What do you see? Because sometimes we can't see what others might see.
And there's
Just to kind of so you just kind of
benefit.
humble.
There's a benefit of being a part of a community and having other people say to you, "Hey, here's what I see in you." That's been a great
Little body stuff.
little body. So
Body
the
of Christ.
body of Christ can tell me things that I'm not able to see in myself.
You know, that's right.
And that's
you
super
just-
helpful. And that
And
helps
counselors
us.
are yeah.
Oh, yes, counseling.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan, my friend.
Me too. Absolutely. That's
And,
right.
and so just for the record, I want to make sure that everybody hears it loud and clear. Yes, Josh goes to counseling. And they're like, wow, are you screwed up? Yes, very.
Why, yes. Yes, I am. Thanks for asking. Goodbye.
And so
Right.
I went to my counselor last night. Why do I do that? Because it's healthy, because I want to do a good job of self-care, because I want somebody outside of me to speak into my life. And they're like, you need to pay somebody for that? Yeah. Both and all of my friends and also this counselor. So, but the thing is that what we're talking about is other people speaking into our lives to give us an idea of a direction and kind of calling out what they see in us. Now, one thing that you spoke about is the beauty of improv. Now, a lot of people know that crazy show. It was popular for a while. Whose line is it anyway? And you would have been the king. Why didn't they have you on as the fourth guy? You would have been the king of that. But so what we're talking about is there's a practice. There's a practice of being creative. And somebody was like, "Hey, how do you become creative?" Well, start being creative, which sounds kind of like another one of these paradoxes of how would we do such a thing? Can you speak to that?
Right. The act of creativity, and you know what? Let me okay, so if I may,
Please.
my thought about just a definition of what creativity is, to me, in my humble opinion, is simply wayfinding.
Wayfinding. Okay, I'm in.
Wayfinding. Yes. So it's like using at that particular moment, your skills, your abilities, your knowledge, your experiences, whatever, you must find a way to ... So, especially, children's ministry types.
Yeah.
Okay. We are always trying to find a way, right? We are trying to find a way to
be creative.
Adapt.
Because
To be creative, to adapt curriculum.
Don't we wish, in a sense, that the senior pastors felt the tension to be as creative as we feel we need to be? That would be a good thing. Because in children's ministry, we're like, well, we have to creatively communicate this. But I've always said, good, if you can teach it to kids, it's great for adults. Does that make sense to you?
No, yes, if you can teach a preschooler, you can teach an adult.
Exactly.
But it ain't the other way around.
It ain't the other way around, right? So in children's
No.
ministry, we're always on, I don't want to call it a treadmill, but we're always on the hunt. We're trying to, as you put it, find the way.
Find a way to adapt curriculum. I mean, we all do that. Like,
Yes.
okay, I was working at a little church in Seal Beach, California,
Uh-huh.
and a few of them had gone to this little conference near Willow Creek in Chicago or around there, this little church, and they were all excited. They brought home this box. Okay, this is like in the late 90s. Brought home this box, and they were all excited about it. And they said, well, we want to use this curriculum that was used in this church that had all of these resources and all these actors and all this tech and all this. And they literally had like 7 volunteers.
And it was going to
be the whole children's ministry.
Okay, so all of a sudden they were thinking this is the way as opposed to finding our way.
Yes. So they said, Kai, we would like you to adapt this. So I spent the next 3 weeks or something trying to boil it down so that it could be pulled off. So, I mean, we all know what I'm talking about because we do it all the time.
Of course.
We adapt curriculum. We must find a way to use limited resources. We must find a way to find and nurture volunteers and basically just make it through a weekend.
Oh, like because Sunday is always coming. Am I right?
You know, and it's a sliding scale and it's a moving target and you're improvising the entire time. Somebody doesn't show up. Okay, you fill it up. It's all improv. You are improvising the entire weekend until you get done and you go home and huddle up in a mass and cry.
And take a nap.
Take a nap.
Yeah.
Naps are huge.
Well, bro, it's way making. And so what we were talking about earlier is, okay, so like I like to try to write. And I was like, well, I'm not really that good. And so I was like, well, I guess the way to do this is get up and just write at this level. And then show back up the next day and write at that level. And before too long, I'm just a hair better. And then just keep writing and keep showing up. Now, it would be great if I could say, you know what, I choose to write 30 minutes a day every day. That's not true. But my point is that continuing to show up, and that's what you're talking about, is creativity. I don't know how to be creative. Well, be okay to suck a little bit. You be you.
Oh, yeah.
Suck a little bit. And the way to do creativity. Oh, there it is again. Yay! So the way to be creative is just to be creative. Try something. And then when it's turbulent, and then if you keep pushing and you keep doing it, you're going to find yourself in the eye of the storm. It's nice and calm there. And you called it the euphoric joy of being in the eye of the storm. But you have to go through the turbulence first.
Yes, you do. Yes. And there's, you know what? And there's really no other way.
There's no other way.
And so it's just like, to be more creative, be creative. You just have to go there. And just like you said, there's turbulence that you will only experience when you find yourself out there. And that's a scary place.
Yes.
And, but again, you can only, and this is really exciting to me because I'm a fraidy cat, and when I was a child. But you discover things way out there when you're hanging out there and you're on the end of a limb, or you've allowed yourself to go out there. You literally create turbulence and you push through, just like you were saying.
Yes.
You push through, and there are things beyond that cloud, beyond that barrier, that you can't get to unless you push through a little bit more, even if it's just a little bit.
That's right.
And it's totally exciting. But it's only out there.
It's only out there. And so you gotta try. You gotta. And some people get so freaked about the turbulence. They're like, hey, there's something wrong. No. That's part of the process.
There's resistance. Oh, no. This is hard. This is scary. I don't want to actually try to really do that.
And so watch
what if
this.
I fail?
They turn the airplane back and they go land because they experience some turbulence, to where the turbulence is the thing that you must go through to get to that euphoric joy of the moment.
Now we're going to take an offering. Thank you, Pastor Josh. We're going to take an offering now, and sister's going to come and sing.
That's right.
And that's going to preach, my brother.
And I think that's what it is, though.
It is. That's exactly what it is.
And I have found that it's hard work sometimes. It is literally hard work. And it's kind of like climbing up Mount Everest. And all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I think I need to stop at this benchmark and get acclimated to the oxygen. It's okay to push and then take a break. But this turbulence though, right? There's nothing wrong. That's a part of the formula, actually, Kai.
That is right. And little progresses, they're just little progresses, and they may not feel like it immediately. You might feel like, oh my gosh, but sometimes you go, oh my gosh, that was really cool. God came through.
Yes.
I mean, and God doesn't have to, see, the thing is too, God doesn't have to meet you in a big way, in a great way.
Yes.
Unless basically you're in great peril. Okay? So when you're way out on that limb, okay, if you're not out on the limb, God doesn't have to meet you out there.
Right.
But when you're hanging out and it's dangerous,
that's where he loves to show up.
That's right. And that's where stories are.
And
that's where testimony is.
That's where the self-sufficiency is no friend of grace. Because self-sufficiency says, I'm totally cool. On the limb is where grace is experienced.
That's right. Because you need it.
You need it.
Bad. That's right. And then God loves that. And then it advances the kingdom of God because it's like, oh, Lord, that is so obvious that was you.
Right.
And you tell people, what a concept.
Yes.
And then that encourages them. Go.
Okay, so something's very special that we talked about that I want to make sure we don't miss is the idea, another paradox is that everything has to do with you and nothing has to do with you. Can you unpack that? Because the way you put it when we were talking, I mean, here we were having a pre-call and I was like, this is too fun. Let's just push live. You know what I mean? So talk to us about
That's right.
this.
So we just did.
We just did.
That's scary. You know what? This morning, I was having anxiety.
Yes.
Like I was scared. And I mean, literally, I'm laying there I'm looking at these notes and I'm going, I just kind of feel it. And in fact, I got so excited, I completely forgot where I'm at. Will you tell me where I'm at?
Yes. Here's the deal. What I want you to
it has nothing to do with you.
But it has everything to do with you. Nothing to do with you, everything to do with you.
That is right. It has everything to do with you, and it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with you in as much as you are praying, you're vulnerable, you are open to God's direction, you acknowledge him so that he can make your path straight.
Yes. Okay, watch this.
Right.
It has everything to do with you, but it has nothing. The everything to do with you is that he has endowed you with particular talents, particular abilities. He created you to be the way that you are. So are you special in the kingdom? The answer is yes, oh lovely flower. You are special in the kingdom.
Yeah.
But he doesn't absolutely need you.
Right. It's not about how good you are. It's not about how handsome or talented or how good you play the guitar, how well you teach. It's not about your attributes per se. It's not about that. Right. God will get his work done.
That's the key. He will get his work done. He does not need you, but he is so pleased to use you.
Yeah, but he's going, okay, hey, open up. I'm gonna get in there with you, and I'm gonna empower you to do this, and it'll blow your mind.
Yes.
What can happen when you just kind of let go, use the force, Luke. It's around us and gives us. Anyway, it's letting. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Star Trek or Star Wars geek.
Me too.
But it's really allowing God to do what he wants to do anyway.
That's it. But he's like, I'm going to do this and I want to do this. Would you like to do this one? I would love to have you do this. And so
it's going to be fun too.
It's going to be fun.
Might be hard, but it's going to be fun.
And
it's
you're going to find
rewarding. It will be significant.
And you're going to find that euphoric joy, and it's unspeakable. You can't even communicate how blessed it is. Now,
and it's real.
One thing that you said to me before we started is this idea of It is about you, but it has nothing to do with you. You said the pressure is off, but the responsibility is high. That's powerful.
Yeah, but you don't lose the responsibility because it is up to you
Yes.
on what you basically allow God to do in your life. Now, God sometimes will just do it despite us.
Yes.
God can do whatever he wants, and he does it. He's did that throughout Scripture, but it really is about your heart. So
Yes.
the everything to do with you is heart related. It's your inner person. It's what this is.
Yeah.
But what you can do, like I said, it can even be a hindrance.
That's the
So
truth.
that's it's just the fun, wonderful, crazy, upside down,
Yes.
paradoxical
Even
experience that we get to do.
even to the point where Mordecai, right? He says to Esther, "Hey, listen, God is going to save his people. Now, it could be through you, or he could do it some other way." So the pressure is off because he's going to have his way, but there is a responsibility that is high. And I think for me, Kai, I think that is one of the most profound things that has been said today. The pressure is off, but the responsibility is high. You have some talents, and could you not put in hard work, right? You got the talents, that's nature. But could you work hard with nurture and put yourself out there and be okay to be not okay for a little bit to get through the turbulence? That's what we need. There is a responsibility. So cool.
Yeah.
So very cool. Well, we're getting ready to close her off here, but what I want to say is this. Hey, psst, it's worth it. That's what I want to say. The bonus, right? It's worth it. Could you speak to that? Because I think that's just very, very, very powerful.
Yeah, you know what? It's transformational.
Mm-hmm.
The whole in creativity, the obstacle or the enemy of creativity is, interestingly enough, I think it's the same enemy of love. It's like fear.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fear, and as you learn to be creative and learning, because we are free, we are positionally free through Christ, we are free.
Yes.
And then we learn to be free throughout our life.
Freer.
So
we are free. We learn how to be freer.
That's right. Yeah, and we own that. We have to learn to own that freedom despite all our junk and our baggage and our whatever.
Yes.
But that learning to be free that's kind of what happens in the whole world of creativity, because you're not bound up you're not thinking about, am I going to fail?
You've moved past the rules. You've moved past the forms. Now you're in sacred creativity space, which is boundless, really.
Well, you know what? And that whole boundless thing, it exists.
It does.
It really does. And every now and again you feel it. And it's like, oh my gosh, wow, God, wow.
I want more.
Yes. And it's just basically letting God, letting yourself go.
Yeah.
So, and risking, you have to be willing. Okay, you have to be, you press through the no's and the don'ts, and it's like you have to be willing to risk and to stretch and to explore and to fail.
Yes.
Okay. I've failed. Oh my gosh. I've had some really great fails. But guess what? I lived through it.
You did.
It embarrassed me. I think about it, but I lived through it.
But the thing is that because you were willing to be a risk taker, the world got better. Right? This is just one piece of your contribution, little K, and all of the things that you do. This is just one piece of the contribution because you chose to be you. Now, I got to say, this would be another topic altogether. We could talk about this another time. But there have been times where people have told me, "Hey, how about you stop being you and you be a curated version of what I want you to be." And I guarantee, Kai, that in your creative life, people have wanted you to not be you. And we're glad that you kept being you.
I'm working on it
Amen. Well,
every
Kai,
day.
this has been super, super fun. It's a total privilege for me to have you on here today because you are a children's ministry legend. I think you're super fun. And if I could say one last thing, what my wife made a comment here, it says, the pressure is off, but the responsibility is high. So the pressure is off, but the responsibility
Pressure's
is high.
off. Just go. Say yes. Say yes.
Say yes and work hard.
Say yes and work hard. Come on, done. I mean, yes, Josh. Thank
Brother,
you.
thank you so much, everybody. This has been another round of Lead Ministry Live with our friend Kai. Thank you, Kai, so very much. This was a true privilege for me.
Thank you, Josh. It was a pleasure.
All right.